I want to sincerely thank our sponsors and supporters for the evening. I want to thank Zach's Construction. I want to thank Dreamcatcher Production. I want to thank Hebrew Africa. I want to thank our partners, Brand SA. I want to thank South African High Commission. Thank you very much. I also sincerely want to thank my team who have worked very tirelessly to make this happen. Particularly, I want to thank Wesley for being the solid rock on which I stand. I want to thank Laura. I want to thank Rose. I want to thank Wumboy. Thank you, Waithera. Thank you. I want to thank you for finding time to be here this evening. Kudos to you. I remember, as if it were yesterday, the Friday afternoon of May the 17th, 2013. This was the day I lost my dream job at the company I always wanted to work for, having spent only 6 weeks there. Yes, I was fired after 6 weeks. It was that bad. They couldn't stand my loud laughter anymore. In case you have any doubts about that, I got the letter right over here. Indeed, this was the very Friday that I created my ideal job, a journey that will be both exciting and equally scary. You see, it is the ambition of each of the 60% of unemployed youth or young men and women in Africa to get a decent education and to find meaningful work. I, like many of you, understood that finding the nature of work that would utilize my talents, skills, competencies, and more importantly, my passion for a better Africa would require huge risks and perhaps extraordinary sacrifices to make this possible. I badly wanted to change the things I didn't like. Children who could not afford school fees, educated graduates who could not find work, men and women who could not love the people they cared for, and my terrible Swahili. It can be very overwhelming, sometimes excruciating. The movie Paid Forward tells this feeling better than I would myself. In the movie, we find a teacher, Mr. Simonet, who tells his 7th grade students to think of an idea that would change the world and put it into action. The class complains how hard it is. Then slowly, Mr. Simonet replies, "How about possible?" It's possible. The realm of possibility exists in each of you, so you can do it, or you can just sit back and let it atrophy. Growing up, my dad always reminded me that I could be anything that I wanted to be, as long as I remained positive, optimistic, and courageous to face my fears. Armed with nothing but faith, possibility, and an unstoppable determination to contribute to Africa's development, I set out on a journey to retell the African narrative, the Africa Brand Summit. This forum was founded to offer a common platform for thought leaders to share ideas on how branding can be a driver of sustainable development in Africa. We are of the view that Africa is indeed rising, but for this to be relevant and impactful, then individual citizens must be beneficiaries of Africa's growth. You see, for a long time, our story has been told on our behalf. In his essay, published in Granta on how to write about Africa, the award-winning Binyavanga Wainaina sarcastically represents how our image has been painted by the outside media. And this is what he says: "You must always include the starving African. Her children have flies on their eyelids and potbellies, and her breasts are flat and empty. Show how Africans eat other things no other humans eat. do not mention rice and beef and wheat. I could go on and on. This, sadly, has been for the longest time the story of Africa. However, I got good news for you. The story is changing. Africa is the home of M-Pesa, a first in the world of mobile money transfer. Africa is the home of MTN, a leading telco in Africa. Africa is the home of the ever so talented, and if I could add, ever so gorgeous Lupita Nyong'o. Africa is the home of Tusker. Do I need to say more? We got something to share to the world. Our brands, our people, our heritage, our Africa. We cannot sit on the sidelines. We cannot fold our hands. We cannot watch from a distance as the world tells the African story on our behalf. We must take a stand to share our storyline, our narrative, our dream, our Africa. It takes courageous people like you and I to take that stand and be active participators and actors rather than passive onlookers on the periphery of the African brand. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why we have gathered here today at a very significant time in the history of our continent, a time when the first US-Africa Summit was held in Washington, a time when China looks at Africa as a trade partner, a time when Africa's growth is one of the fastest globally. Thank you for choosing to be part of this future of possibilities. As you can see, in less than a year, you can check that out from your program, we have been very blessed to bring together leaders in 4 continents and 13 countries, from South Africa to Ghana, from Cameroon to India, from Kenya to America, from Nigeria to Sweden. Still, we have been fortunate to have amazing partnerships with the African Marketing Confederation, Africa 2.0 Foundation, Brand Ghana, Brand South Africa, Marketing Society of Kenya, CRM Kenya, among others. Indeed, it is this collaborative effort to branding Africa as a continent that will truly translate into possibility and not poverty stories, hope and not despair, inspiration and not discouragement. We all must work together for this to be possible. Friends, we have a chance to rewrite our history and perhaps shape the future. When you and I commit to this small idea in telling our possibility story, we will look back 10 or 20 years from today and be grateful that we were part of this legacy. We were part of a renaissance that was bigger than ourselves and larger than life itself. Mila Matola of South Africa is playing his part. Mamadou Touré of Cameroon is playing his part. Mathias Okotia of Ghana is playing his part. Angela Mwirigi of Kenya is playing her part. Will you join them? Will you join us? Thank you.